Great. Well, so for our next segment here, we're going to be joined by 3 Hearth members and local contractors to Central Texas. And we actually have a variety of trades, which I love. We have roofing, building, foundations, concrete, which is fantastic. And so I'll start with introductions here. We do have Ryan Rodriguez. And Ryan, do you want to just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about the company?
Hi, everybody. I'm Ryan Rodriguez. I'm the owner of Semper Fidelis Construction and Development. I'm actually kind of blown away right now. I'm not going to lie. It's pretty cool to hear the people that have talked, to be even invited out to even speak a bit. So I appreciate you guys. And I know all the effort everyone in this room has put into it, even you gentlemen that I don't even know. So, the grind is what makes us all who we are. So it's just pretty cool to actually hear different aspects, and there's definitely some people I want to talk to after this, so don't leave right away. But yeah, I'm the owner of Semper Fidelis Construction and Development. We do government contracts, so we work with Joint Base San Antonio, which is each military installation out of San Antonio. There's some out here on the outskirts of Austin area we're going to be working on. We're talking about going state to state as well. We do new construction, commercial construction, residential remodels, and we do special adaptive housing for the VA.
Awesome. Thank you. And then our second panelist is Aaron. And Aaron, if you want to just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about CCR, that'd be great.
My name is Aaron Washburn. I'm the owner of CCR Roofing here in Austin, Texas. I've been in business since December of 2010. Started the business with my dad. Over the years, we've grown and matured, and he's getting kind of towards that age of retirement. So about a year ago, I bought out his interest in the residential. We actually own 2 companies, CCR Commercial Roofing and CCR Roofing. So I own CCR Roofing now outright and run that, and still partner with my dad on the commercial side. But he's also kind of, slowly transitioning out of that. And that's it.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good piece of it. And it's interesting you saying your dad transitioning out has me thinking a lot about Stacy and Scott's piece on the exit, because it directly speaks to that kind of part of passing over the business.
It took a lot of planning for sure.
Oh, I'm sure.
No. I gave him a house. I want this house. And I was like, you can have it. I want the business.
It's a good trade. And then our third panelist is Kip. And Kip, if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and the company, that'd be fantastic.
Yep. So I'm Kip Staling. I'm the co-owner of Risen Foundation Solutions. We lift residential and commercial properties with slab-on-grade foundations. We like to say we don't just get down to business, we get down to bedrock. That's kind of one of our many tags. And I was actually invited into this journey. My business partner and best friend of 25 years, actually. We always said when we were shooting hoops, as I look at this basketball hoop back here, a little bit different shape, that we would go into business one day. And it's hilarious how COVID kind of just ushered in that opportunity. I was formerly the general manager of the Crown Plaza downtown Chicago. So we took quite a shift from managing facilities to now being the one that repairs these residential and commercial facilities. So he's the expert. He's been doing it for about 10 years now. And our company just took off. We talk about EOS. It is a game changer when it's the right time for your organization. We probably stepped into it a little too quick, but we're glad that we did, because it really got us to where we need to be just a year into the program. We've lifted 250 houses. On Monday, we're supposed to lift our 250th tomorrow, but it's actually going to be on Monday. So just from July 2020. So we've been very blessed. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
And I think kind of going back to what you said about COVID, it's interesting to think that, at this point has been a couple of years since that's happened. I mean, you had a total career change and now you're in Texas doing this foundation work. But I'll pose a question to the panel, kind of, COVID being super unpredictable. I think when it first happened, no one really knew what was going to happen to the home improvement industry. Everyone kind of held their breath a little bit. When you looked at what happened across the home improvement industry, what was one thing that you saw companies doing during COVID where you're just like, no, don't do that. Or something that maybe companies got wrong that you felt like, oh, we really capitalized on this particular part of the business during, this unprecedented time. And feel free to chime up if you guys have answers to that.
COVID. Wow, that was a crazy time. I remember, I'm never going to forget it. We were 50% through a special adaptive house for a disabled veteran who didn't have any legs out in San Antonio. And when it was like panic, all of a sudden everything stopped. Nobody wanted to do anything. Everything was closed. The government's calling me like, hey, when are you going to get back to site? It's kind of like, I can't even buy materials. Like, give me a break. What are we going to do? Let's figure this out. But whenever all of that went down, we had to sit down and have a decision just about, hey, you know what? Where are we going? What do we want to be? We're going to have to open up to the residential side of the house, meaning the public. And what really helped us out was just the target marketing. One, having a direction and understanding where you're going as a team, and two, understanding what you're presenting to the populace of the direction you want to go and who you want to be. Because, a lot of people are like, hey, you're crazy. You can't do this. You can't do that. But it's like, no, you can absolutely do it. You just have to want to do it. So to do new construction as well as remodels and commercial, a lot of things that people were saying it couldn't be done. It's like, it's awesome. So I think a lot of people didn't have that discipline as far as this is what we're going to be, this is what we're going to do, and have a definitive plan is what I would say.
So a couple things that I saw. I think probably the number one mistake that I saw my competitors make when, in the first quarter of 2020 is not cutting overhead. A lot of people wanted to keep things going the way they were, or wanted to see what was happening. And I understand where they're coming from, but it cost a lot of people a lot of money, and it cost some of my competitors their entire business. For the rest of them, honestly, I think one of the biggest mistakes that I saw in COVID, I saw it everywhere, and it's might not be the most popular opinion based on the feedback I've gotten in my personal life, but I think a huge mistake people made was panicking, letting their fear be known to the people that they were leading, because there's already so much going on externally that to come to work and have somebody, your boss is wearing 2 masks and gloves and a face shield and freaking out and, oh, everybody's, and like you're making it worse, right? So what we did at our company is like, look, if you want to go ahead like normal, then go ahead like normal. And if you don't, that's okay too. Wear a mask if you want to come to the office, work from home if you want to work from home. And reassuring people that whatever happens, we'll be fine. Like, people are still going to need roofs. In fact, we might actually see a boom in people wanting to home improve because they're there all the time. Obviously, our interactions are going to change. Right off the bat, we made company logoed masks way before the mask mandate. Knock on somebody's door, step back 10 feet, and just say, hey, look, we don't have to be close to talk, but I'm going to do my job, and I'll communicate with you via text or email or Zoom or however you want to do it. Make your customers feel comfortable and safe, but also stay calm with the people that you're leading. If you're panicking, they're panicking, and there's already everybody's about to panic anyways. So keep it together.
It's being like that steady hand, which is so important when you're leading people, because you don't, as you mentioned, you don't need another group panicking them when everyone has CNN turned on the whole time.
Getting it from their siblings and their parents and their friends and text threads and all social media. Everybody's like, I'm not contributing to this panic.
No, that makes sense. Kip, do you have anything to add on that?
Yeah, so a couple of things. I think you heard it when Stacy was talking about, and maybe Scott, if I'm not mistaken, the financial portion of things. If your finances aren't in order, and really, if your liabilities are too high and you're not cash strong and you have too much caught up in debt, you're going to be in a position where a lot of companies found themselves. We say in the Marine Corps, piss poor planning leads to piss poor performance. So you need to have proper planning in place. Now, this is obviously an event that took everybody by surprise. I was running a $24 million hotel in downtown Chicago with union employees. There's really no way out of that situation. But we did partner with somebody in the manufacturing industry who had been there for 65 years, and they didn't have any debts. And so they were able to get the government assistance to keep their personnel on board and got enough money to help with the financing and launch of our business. So having your finances in order and having very low liabilities and being as debt-free as possible will give you the fluidity to push through that envelope of, hopefully your competitors, not that we would want any ill will on them, but you will survive longer because you're more cash strong. So I think that's one of the things we've learned, and taking that into practice. We own all of our vehicles, we own all of our equipment, and the only loans that we are burdened to is our minority equity partner, of which we pay heavily against the principal, not just the interest. So that's what we learned.
No, that makes sense. And I think it's the idea of like staying nimble, especially when you see what happened over the past 3 years. You never know at this point, anything could happen. So being able to stay nimble as a business is super, super important. The next topic I think is pretty interesting because it's something that we're seeing not only in home improvement, but really across the space, where it's hard to recruit talent. Recruiting good employees, keeping them on your books is super, super challenging right now. And in the home improvement space, that's obviously no different. So I'd be curious, as we're seeing a really competitive job market right now, how our panelists are not only recruiting, but working to retain their employees, and also your subcontractors, because that's a super important part of the business as well.
Yeah, that is a hot topic. I think I've fired so many people. It's unbelievable. I'm sure everybody in here has too. The way I talk about recruiting, especially with my leadership team, is just, you know what, we're going to get it wrong. It's going to happen. You could do everything right. All the references check out, and it's just not going to be what we thought it was going to be. We'll lose money. It's just really important understanding the triage factor and how you're going to adapt once something like that happens, because it's not if, it's when. And, guidelines are in place. Different eyes per project are in place just to ensure, because, they're going to steal. Y'all said it earlier, and they will absolutely steal. It's 1 in 10. Finding someone that's going to actually stick and be long term, 1 in 25, realistically. So that's a tough ratio to get to as an owner or with any company. And the way that I think of it, and I love the idea of how it's funny when you were telling your story earlier about the color coding and having your managers do that. I don't know if y'all did that, but we did that. We did that in the Marine Corps squad leaders course, and it was so atrocious because it was, your peers are voting you off the island. Hey, sorry, best of luck to you. You didn't make it, and we're all like, wait, what? That's it? I go back to my unit and I look like a garbage. And it's such a great idea, and the fact that it's been brought up again, it just brought back memories of something that has to be implemented. But that's just the labor side of manpower, because we're a hybrid. We do manpower as well as we do subs. We'll use electricians, plumbers, and when we're building a home, things like that, and then manpower the rest of the way. So with subs, it's hard because you have people that work the way that they work, and they've done it 15, 20 years. Now all of a sudden, as a Marine, and this is a lot of what I hear is negative, is that, hey, I want it done my way, and this is how it's going to be done. There is no compromise. Well, sure, we can have a conversation, but you're going to be wrong because this is how we do things. So I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about it. But as far as subcontractors, it's a different beast in itself. You have to find people that are willing to adapt with you, grow with you, and unfortunately, temporarily, some of them are only going to go with you a short way. And you just have to be prepared for it and be prepared to move on and make that tough decision, because we're not here to be friends. So
makes sense. Aaron, anything to add on this hot topic?
Not a lot, I guess. We've made a commitment to being really, really careful about who we hire going forward. Slow to hire, quick to fire is kind of the thing. I would rather have 5 absolute ballers than 10 mediocre or average people, period. Even if the revenue number is the same. We've gone through a lot. It's funny. Scott and Stacy were talking about it, but we are in the process of turning everybody over because we decided we're changing the way we do things. And if you don't want to change with us, that's okay, but we're doing it. And so, we've put a lot of time and energy into really methodically putting together exactly what we want from our sales team, exactly what we want from our sales culture, identifying the things that have made us successful, and also identifying the things that caused us drama, problems, conflict. I remember sitting in my office one time being like, there's at least 3 people at this company that I hate. He comes walking in the door and I'm like, God, I hate this guy. And, at the time it's like, well, but he produces, so I'll just put up with it. And we made, but not anymore. We're not doing that anymore. And so as far as the subs, we've really had no issue with that. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I've had the same, primary roofing crew do all of my roofs now for 7 years. And managing subs in your relationships is a very delicate dance. You can't manage them the same way you manage your sales guys. You can't manage them the same way you manage anybody. They're a very different entity. And a lot of it is compromise. When the storm hits and all the storm chasers are coming in and offer them tons of money, and they're like, oh, look, we can go work for this guy. You sit down and have a conversation, be like, you're right. That guy's going to pay you $120 a square. And in August, he'll be gone and he'll stiff you on your last check. And then you'll come back to me and I'll take you back, but it's going to be even lower than you're paid now. So why don't we compromise? I'll pay you more. You keep doing work and I'll keep paying you every Friday, no matter what. I pay you every Friday, 52 weeks a year. We're doing roofs in December. We're doing roofs in January. We don't make up stuff to back charge you for. We don't give you a hard time when there's a mistake. We just work through what we got to work through, handle it calmly, handle it maturely, make sure that we're all on the same page. And, that's how it works. But it is a constant relationship management process, because if you get stubborn or if you get hot-headed or if you get arrogant, they're gone. And it costs a lot to find another good one. So.
No, that makes total sense. And it's towing that line, right? Of like wanting to get people bought into the company culture and, go out and sell, but also holding people accountable for what you want as an organization and what your core values might be. And it's so challenging to like find as a leader the right balance between those two things.
Right. Just because like not letting their value to the company allow them to walk all over you, but also not be so strong-headed that nobody wants to work with you either.
Kip, any thoughts on recruiting and retaining?
Sure. So I take this a little bit differently, just with the experience that I've had in the past. I will say that Aaron said something very interesting and important. And for those who have a difficult time separating one role and how they respond with feedback and another role in your organization and how they respond, it's what great managers do differently. It's a book, and it talks about how you treat people equally but different. So you respond to different people the way that is best for them and for the relationship, but you treat them equally and fairly. It just looks different. So that's one thing I would say on the coaching aspect. And since we're talking about coaching, I kind of feel like I'm cheating here because I'm going to go back to the EOS, Gino Wickman, the book Traction. It's very simple. If you take the onus off of yourself and put it on the company, you're just following the company's guidelines, even as a leadership team. So the leadership team is even weighed and measured on those very same core values that you implement. Because if you as owners or as the leadership team doesn't fit those core values, then guess what? Those probably shouldn't be the core values for the company, because you're going to hire, you're going to coach, and you're going to terminate individuals based on those core values. And if you use those core values to hire and it's non-negotiable and you review based on those core values, guess what? You're probably not going to terminate as many people because they're going to know exactly what you expect going in. They're going to know exactly what's going on with the relationship you currently have because you're measuring against the core values. It's super simple. There's a guy named Marcus Buckingham. He, phenomenal HR, I guess what's the word? He's a genius at HR. He says the best way to review your people is to review them every week. Say, what are your top 3 priorities and how can I help? What are your top 3 priorities this week and how can I support you? And then at the end of that week, you say, how did you accomplish those top 3 priorities that you had that we both agreed to? It's very simple. It's casual conversation. It's the best way to coach your people. You're there to support them. You hire them right based on your core values, and you give them a very frequent review and a casual conversation. And then you have to terminate less. People who don't like it will leave on their own.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And I like the idea of aligning on what the priorities are too, because I think that's something that across the board I've seen at companies that I've been at, or, in talking with home improvement professionals across the US, there seems to be not a ton of alignment between what like the leadership of the company wants, how many roofs, how many concrete, foundations we want to rise in the next 2 weeks. And then that's not communicated down to the sales reps. So then they have no idea what quotas they need to hit for the week. And so I think having those frequent check-ins can help a lot with that and retain people ultimately. And then the last question that I have for you gentlemen is kind of broad, but basically would just love to understand kind of one concept or one word that you would use to describe the success of your business. So I think an example of this would be something like the idea of being gritty, the idea of being relentless. Yeah, I'll stop there because I don't want to give too many away. But just a word that you guys use in your everyday. It could be something that is a core value to your business. It could be something that's a core value to you as a human being, and how you have utilized that when you've worked to build your business here in Central Texas.
You just want a one-word answer?
Oh, I'll take 2. I'll take 3. I'm not picky.
Semper Fidelis, always faithful, is built into our company name. It's a Marine thing, and it's something that we all take very serious. And with this company, I have people ask me all the time, just about the name, about the way that we lead, or about the way we do things, especially as a leadership team. And word of mouth is one of our biggest contributions to success. So the way I preach it is just do the right thing the right way for the right reason. As long as we stick to that, everything else is going to fall in place. But once we start to get selfish, is when things start to go bad for a company. So we just do what you say you're going to do.
How about you, Aaron?
Persistence. Persistence and persistence alone is omnipotent. It really is. That is one of our core values, and it's one of the most important things that I teach people. It's like your role in your career, in everything that you're trying to accomplish is much like the game of golf, where every now and then you get together and you're competing against other people. But most of the time, you're competing against your personal best. You're always trying to get better. You're really competing against yourself. It doesn't matter if you reach a certain peak and now you're not where you were. As long as you're persistent, you can get back there. And if you stop being persistent, you stop growing, you stop moving forward, and you're done.
Keep growing or you die, ultimately. Okay.
Grow or die. So ours is trust. Our mantra is restoring trust in the home services industry. And obviously we do that through foundation repair. But foundation repair, there is the word trust is very difficult to embody in foundation repair, depending on what circles you're in, the clientele you're speaking with. It is a very difficult industry to be in, and that's why we are trying to restore trust in the home services industry. But it's not just client-facing. It's employee-facing as well. You can't accomplish, so our core values are do the right thing, grit, and coachable. Well, if you expect somebody to do the right thing and you expect them to use grit to push through the improbable, they need to trust the person next to them, and they need to trust the leader that's above them. And so establishing trust in our industry is really the most important thing for all parties who touch foundation repair.
That makes sense. And I did take your word. Gritty. Good thing I stopped. Awesome. Well, thank you guys. Thank all 3 of you so much for coming and speaking. It has been super, super great just hearing your perspective. And we love working with you over at Hearth, and excited to continue to watch the businesses grow. Oh, we got a question from the crowd.
Inflation's on everyone's mind. I mean, I think it's, without getting too political, please.
No.
I know you guys. How are your companies, how are they dealing with it? How are you taking a look at it? I've had a couple of conversations with you guys about it, but, how is each one of you businesses tackling inflation? Because I know you're maybe getting conversations from your employees like, I need a cost of living increase, or all of those fun conversations, but also on the material side, the customer side, like all of these angles are being affected by inflation. So how are you guys handling it?
Inflation. Love it. No, I don't love it. It's definitely changed the way we do business, the way we conduct business. Prime example, you're pouring $200,000 worth of concrete. You're 6 months into the project, getting ready to break ground, and all of a sudden it's like, what do you mean there was a 30% increase? Your contract doesn't even cover it. So there goes your profit margin. Oh, wait, we can't make mistakes anymore? Oh, it's cool, guys. We only got 6 months of project left after this. So, our proposals off the bat, we're doing 30 days out, meaning, hey, in 30 days, if you haven't signed the contract, I'm sorry, we're rebidding your project. It's unfortunate, but it's just the nature that we're living in right now. Not just that, we've had to have, escalation clauses as far as percentages added to our contracts, because again, when you're dealing with $1 million projects, we're talking about a lot of materials and a lot of, 50-cent dollar increase on anything, tens of thousands of dollars, easy, even up to hundreds of thousands in some cases. So, legal's been a big aspect for us as far as changing things out and making it work and finding what fits. But most importantly, the transparency when we talk to the customer initially of, hey, this is where we're at, and this is what we're doing, and by the way, there could be changes in the future. I believe transparency is the best business. So just being honest up front about things and how things are changing and volatile is you're setting yourself up for success as a company.
I'll be perfectly honest with you. Inflation for us is not necessarily a negative thing. I hate to say this on a recording, but when the prices go up, we make more money. But of course, and he mentioned it earlier, that really benefits companies who have very little leverage, very little debt. If you're cash positive and you can afford this drastic increase in material costs, I don't even know how much it's grown in the last year, but it's a lot. What do you think? 60% increase at least on residential, 100% increase on metal, at least 100% on TPO membrane. So, on the residential side, we update our pricing constantly with our sales guys. Like, you cannot sell at this price anymore. Our bids are only good for a couple of weeks because we have to build that roof within 30 days, not just sign it within 30 days because we're getting another price increase and we know it. So, on the commercial side, we have inflation, but also this drastic backlog for materials. So we're having to sign contracts with the clause that this doesn't include material price. Material price as of today is this, but when it actually gets delivered, we'll show you the receipts. We'll tell you how much it really is. So it's different, but I tell you, it gives us a way better starting point when we're talking with homeowners about financing. It's like, if we've got inflation at 8.5%, 9%, and they're willing to loan you money at 3%, why wouldn't you do this? Like, it's nonsense. Don't spend $30,000 of your own cash. Spend their money for 3%. And it doesn't make any sense not to be perfectly honest with you. It gives us a more dynamic selling point when we're talking about financing.
Yeah, so for us, we only use steel piers. We don't have any other solution. It's steel or nothing. And for those of you who heard about the lumber spike towards the beginning of last year, really, and went into the summertime, yeah, that spiked about 500, 600%, depending on what metric you're looking at. In the steel industry, we started out at $447 per ton, and our commodity went up to $1,997 per ton. And retail slowly caught up with that, and it's dipped down again. I think the last time I looked was about $1,600 and change per ton, but the retail hasn't stopped climbing because the supply is super low. The supply is super low with steel. So we're actually finding it very difficult to find the product that we need to install our foundation piers. And so our retail is going up because of supply. And it's very hard to digest, but our margins are enough. Not only is it difficult for us to deal with pricing as it is because we're a newer business, and newer in foundation repair means you'll go out of business soon. That's not going to happen with us. Thank you, EOS. But the point is to increase your prices and to be competitive with some of the larger foundation repair companies that aren't increasing their prices, or when they do, it's because they have 85 years in the business. It's challenging. So that word trust again is super huge for us. And that's why when you look at our reviews online, they're stellar and they're very personable because our service stands out above the rest. I think I heard a couple people mention earlier about customer service. And one of the things that we do is we have one point of contact from evaluation to project completion. So having one point of contact as opposed to having a salesperson, then a project manager and a structural engineer, you've got one point of contact throughout the entire process. So the communication is how we set ourselves apart. Communication is the biggest opportunity in our industry, and we make that the biggest priority of our industry. And that's how we win.
Right. It's understanding that even though the price has gone up, our value proposition is not just about price. It's about the customer experience that you get when you choose a brand like ours.
And one more thing, because they're going up and because the rates are cheaper, we send them to Hearth to get financing.
Love the plug. Thank you.
Because Hearth is the best.
Any?
All right. Hey, thanks, guys.
Any other questions from the crowd?
Will you take a comment?
Oh, of course.
Okay, I really agree with everything you guys just said. And my input on pricing and inflation is raise your prices more often. The more you raise your prices, the more times you raise it, the less traumatic it is to people, and do it a smaller amount. Don't wait until you need to do a 20% increase in your price. Do a 3% increase this month and do another 3% increase next quarter and another one after that.
It's not as jarring then. They're not getting that sticker shock from realizing maybe what their friend got that roof for, 2 years ago.
Well, it's important for your customers, but it's also important for your salespeople, because your salespeople, if you tell them we got a 20% increase, they're like, I can't sell it that price. But you tell them a 3%, they're like, oh, I can probably do that. And they do it. And you give them another 3.
Coffee is for closers.
And giving a pricing increase that's digestible also incentivizes them to close the jobs that are still outstanding that haven't been closed. We have a price increase coming next month or in 2 weeks. I got to close these jobs before. Or it's good to communicate to your clients because it incentivizes them also.
Any other questions, comments? Doggo?
I got lots of questions.
Shoot.
That was my last one. But just marketing, right? I mean, I think it's like, sometimes people are like, I don't need to invest in marketing. I got word of mouth. I got referral. I know my guy. He's going to give me some jobs. But we all got to do it to make our companies run better, more efficiently, all that fun stuff. So what kind of stuff do you guys do? And just impart some wisdom on the marketing side. Because I think that's, you're all great at what you do, but maybe you had to really learn that marketing part.
And I think what you guys were saying earlier, like that advertising component is what takes a company from startup into that growth stage. So how are you guys kind of navigating that marketing and advertising play moving into, growth?
Y'all are going to think I'm crazy. I only use Facebook. And believe it or not, I've actually cut cost on what I'm doing with Facebook because I target market so specifically for what I'm trying to attract that it's actually helped me cut my budget. And I've talked to a lot of different marketing teams because, my gosh, I just want to get stuff off my plate sometimes. But when I look at what I'm getting versus what I've done, because I've been trained and then in turn I've trained, and it's so much more cost effective for me to do it myself and then have, someone manage the incoming leads after that. So, that's all I use. We're about to open up to Google. I'll be honest with you, I'm a little scared. Just because right now we get a lot of leads as it is. I mean, we're anywhere between 175, 250 a week for leads. So. I don't even know anymore, to be honest with you. It's gotten to a point for us where we've had to hire 3 more people just to manage the leads, and we're about 4 weeks out if anyone even wants to schedule an appointment easily. So
you can come talk to our Hearth marketing people too. We'll have a table for it.
Aaron, you want to touch on kind of how you guys are utilizing your marketing?
Yeah, we use Facebook ads as well. We focus primarily on Google SEO and SEM, local service ads, that kind of stuff. We run a lot of ads with like landing pages so that people can click on just a really easy to digest advertisement. They call that number. We know which one worked. We have cold callers. We have canvassers. We have rehash people. Basically like, hey, why don't you call every single person on this list of somebody who quit, or you know what, you got 2 houses on this street. Call everybody else on that street that you met that didn't sell, or go out there and knock their doors. Like, hey, we did these 2. You'll know which ones didn't get done. Just kind of everything that we got to do to maximize our opportunities.
No, that makes sense. Then Kip?
We spend a lot of money in marketing. We've done everything from now Snapchat and Instagram and TikTok have advertising opportunities, paid advertising opportunities. We've done those. Facebook, Google, Yelp, Angie. We did Home Advisor. They merged Home Advisor. I'm not a huge fan of. Actually, I'm not a fan of at all. I hope there's no Home Advisor people. They're Angie now. Everything has changed quite a bit. One of the biggest things, and I think the biggest thing that's missed, is face-to-face networking opportunities. So if you've never heard of BNI, I'm a huge fan of BNI, Business Networking International. So I can tell you in just 12 months, the lead referral tracking from person to person, it's a group of anywhere from 20 to 40 individuals, 1 classification per group. So 1 roofer, 1 GC, 1 foundation repair person, 1 painter, 1 classification per. And your job is to refer as many qualified individuals to that other business within the group as possible. So just from 12 months of referral lead tracking from that group, $284,000 for our business. And so I became a member of several networking groups. We got up to 7. And I backed those down to only the producing ones. And just in our first calendar year, we did $425,000 in trackable leads that go directly to those networking groups. It is a huge missed opportunity. And in that first year, we spent $6,000 to be a member of those groups, including face-to-face weekly meetings with meals, mixers, etc. So $6,000 for $425,000 ROI, you do the math. That's amazing. We're doing a billboard, 2 billboards starting next month and 2 months later. We're spending a lot of money. It's foundation repair is a very unique animal, and it's very territorial and specific to the area. But I have a ton. I do the business development and marketing. So if you want to have conversations, I'll tell you what to steer clear of, and I'll tell you what's worked really well.
I wanted to add to that. I totally left that part out as well. But yeah, face-to-face marketing, one of the things that we do that generates a ton of leads and also gets our name out is we will sponsor groups of producers that fit what we're looking for. So realtors, property managers, they've got a group that they get together. We'll be like, hey, we're going to host a happy hour and we're going to have food catered and meet 100 realtors at once. And we'll have 2 or 3 of us there shaking hands, buying drinks. And then like the phones just start ringing, realtors immediately. Obviously not everybody in here is in roofing. So, specifically the type of customer that you're looking for, those things pay off hugely.
One more thing I wanted to add since you brought up realtors, Aaron. The Texas Real Estate Commission has continuing education courses for realtors who are required to have 50 credits every 2 years. Those courses need to be filled. So you can create a continuing education course that falls underneath a licensed professional like a home inspector, and you can be a qualified instructor to teach CE courses, and those same realtors that you pay to get in front of will pay you for the education, and you're the expert. So we started that this year, and we are in a lot of the big brokerages, lenders, insurance companies that sponsor these events, and they now pay us to get in front of them, which is pretty cool.
I have one more. I lied.
Shoot. No, go for it.
So I know Aaron's background, so you might have a good answer to this. So storm season's coming, and you all work in areas where like insurance may get involved. So I think a big deal is like for smaller contractors, or really anyone in the life cycle is like, how do I get ready to work with an insurance company? Do I want to work with insurance companies? Like, is that the kind of job that I want to take? Because sure, we can finance a deductible, and that's all great, but like, Aaron, you have you worked in insurance for a little while, so like, do you have tips for people who maybe want to get into that? Because this isn't just for this group. Like, I'm recording it, so yeah.
Yes, absolutely. If you're running a business that grows when there's catastrophes, whether it's the restoration guys after a water heater breaks, or roofers, windows, siding, all of those things, absolutely you need to know how insurance works. You need to know how to read and explain those insurance papers to people like better than anybody. You have to be, I'll sit down with an accountant and walk him through it, and he's like, I don't understand why I can't figure this out. I'm an accountant. I'm like, you can't figure it out because it's weird. And I can explain it to you because I do it every day for like 15 years. So let me walk you through it and make it easy to understand, so that they know exactly what it is that they're getting paid for, how much money they had to work with, and what their options are. You also need to know what the insurance companies are on the hook to pay for. Because if you just look at insurance papers and go, well, this is what they're paying for, then you're just kind of taking whatever some adjuster wrote on there. And what adjusters write varies greatly based on their experience and their workload. I mean, you can have a guy who's been doing it for 20 years and he forgets 2 or 3 of the most important things. You call him like, how did I forget that? Well, because you had 38 to do that night when he got home. So you need to be able to identify those quickly and easily. You need to be able to submit those into a format that the insurance company can see and read and go, oh, okay, yep. You need to be able to justify it and explain why you're asking for this. And you need to be able to manage your customers' expectations as far as the timeline. If I pull up an insurance papers and it's awful, I'm like, all right, listen, this is going to take some work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the office. I'm going to rewrite this. I'm going to go ahead and sign your contract for the amount that the insurance company has approved as of today. With, of course, this big paragraph that says we will be filing supplements on this. And when the final invoice is approved by the insurance company, then that will be the total of your contract and we'll update it. But then we'll go back and submit that supplement, send it to the insurance company. But they need a realistic idea of how long that process takes. And that process can take some time depending on the adjuster, because desk adjusters are different than field adjusters, but they still have a huge workload. So they're getting 6 to 10, 15 new claims a day. They've got 120 to 150 claims that are open at any given time. They're on the phone all day long. It is not super easy to get a hold of them and communicate with them. So you need to tell your customer, realistically, it's going to take about this much time. And then once it's approved, then, we'll sit back down. I'll walk you through it and we'll get your roof on the schedule. You don't know how to do that. You're way behind. You're way behind. I mean, it is one of the first things that we learn in our training program. Hey, here's all the components of a roof. Here's what you need to know about a roof. Next, insurance papers. Here's how they work. And then we'll talk about the sales process. Because if you're not good at that part, you sit down. It doesn't matter how good of a salesperson you are. If you're looking at gibberish and you can't explain it, you can't understand it, right? So yeah, it's extremely important. It shouldn't be the focus of what you're doing. And I will say that it drives me crazy when roofing companies are like, oh yeah, we're insurance specialists.
Or insurance only.
Yeah. Who isn't? I mean, we're in the roofing business, but like, no, we're roofing specialists and we know how to work with your insurance company. Okay. It drives me insane. No, we're roofers. We're not the insurance guys. So here's how we do things. Here's what needs to go on your roof. Here's the right way to do it. And here's how I'm going to explain that to your insurance company. Not just, I know how to read insurance papers and I found a crew in the parking lot of Home Depot, so I'm a roofer now. When you're sitting there with your customer, you need to let them know that you are a roofer and you're a professional roofer and you don't care if there's no insurance papers. You can still sit down and explain to them what needs to go on a roof, and you can still write them a bid and you can still do the work. It just happens to have a different payor. And so now we have a third party that we have to work with. And of course, I'm experienced. I know how to do it. I'll make it easy for you. Nobody wants to deal with this. Nobody likes dealing with their insurance companies. We'll do it for you. We'll make it easy.
Well, I just want to say, as it relates to insurance, for those of you who don't work with insurance, or a lot of the insurance claims, your companies don't qualify. I'm looking at New Home Decks, not to say any names, but you need to know that the insurance companies that say, oh, your whatever got damaged that's relative to what you do and it's not covered by insurance, but you still need to get your deck done. Guess what? You need to have relationships with those insurance brokerages in your local area so that although it may not be covered by their claim, they still have a referral to give them to do the work anyways, because the work still needs to get done. So I have created solid relationships with all of the insurance companies, because when they tell their clients, I'm sorry, that's not covered underneath your insurance. However, call Kip with Rhythm Foundation Solutions. He's a trustworthy partner of ours who can give you a fair price and do quality work.
No, that makes sense. And then I have one final. Oh, Doggo, do you have a question?
No, I'm just chilling.
Okay. I something came into my mind, and I'd love to hear from each one of you. You know, something that you're really excited about that you're working on in your business in the upcoming year. I think 2022 is a really exciting opportunity, especially, we're in Austin, tons of growth in this city, tons of growth in the surrounding area, San Antonio. And I'd love to hear just one thing that you're working on right now. It could be small, it could be big, but that you're really excited about that you plan on launching in the next year.
One thing for us that I'm pretty happy about, and I don't really get too happy very often, is these larger government contracts that we're already in talks about, that we've already won bids on for those types of projects. We're talking 9 months of planning prior to even getting into the job. So if we're already working on next year, and I'm happy about it because, I remember when I first started, $500,000 the first year, and then, $2 million the next year, $5 million the final. And then now here we are, we're talking about doing all that in one job. And it's kind of like, it's humbling, thank you God. It's really changed the dynamic of who we are. And it's just thinking about it all. It's like, wow. You really have to remember a lot of things about how you want to do it. Just stick to your structure, stick to what you said you're going to do. But not only that, wow, now I got to hire a bunch more people to help out with these large moving components. So that's what we're really happy about, and we're all gearing forward right now for next year.
Super exciting. Yeah, it's like I see this huge thing coming on the horizon, and I'm excited, but I'm also thinking about all the stuff that I need to do in order to meet that challenge. It's super exciting. Aaron, how about yourself?
I'm super excited. We are launching an entirely new training program here in the next couple of weeks. One of the things that's really plagued me, or just wears me out thinking about ever since we started this business, is how do you scale a roofing company? How do you you can scale a Starbucks, right? Pick a spot, you put a Starbucks in place, and you know everything that you need to build that Starbucks and hire those people and train those people and have it running the same as all the others, right? And for us, our sales process, in the roofing business, it is a high tolerance process. Like the kind of people that sell roofs have to be able to learn a lot of different skills, right? It's not somebody walking into a store and buying a cell phone. You got a limited number of cell phones. It's you got to inspect roofs, you got to prospect, you got to read insurance papers, you got to meet insurance adjusters, you got to close the deal, you got to put all this paperwork in place, you got to get everything prepared. There's a lot of responsibilities for a roofing salesperson, and the training process historically has been a very long process, a very involved process, and it was so devastating when you spend 3 months training somebody, and they're like, "Oh man, it just isn't for me." And you're like, "Oh." My face is still tired. I've talked to you so much for 3 months.
That hurt. I felt that.
And conversely, once you've got somebody who's trained and they're outstanding at their job and they produce at a high level, they then have leverage on you because, hey man, I do $2 million a year in sales. I'm the best sales guy you got. I can do whatever I want. Well, no, you can't. But if I fire you, I lose $2 million. And how do I replace it quickly? You don't. And so Rich and I kind of started on this journey about a year ago. Post-COVID, kind of survival mode in 2020. The residential side did great, but the commercial side struggled bad because you have all of these people buying buildings who are like, I'm not going to buy this building and renovate it if I can't rent it out. So post COVID, I decided I was going to like really take my time and analyze every single role in the roofing company, what skills and attributes I need each one of those people to have, how they fit in the organization. You need some guys who are just stone cold killers in the living room, but you also need some people who are middle of the road sales guys who are great team players. And you need some people who are, you know what, sales I just don't really like prospecting and stuff, but you know what, I fit great in the project management role or marketing role. I can call people and get leads. I just don't want to be in people's living rooms, till 8 o'clock at night, whatever. So we broke down everything that we needed and exactly what we wanted in a sales team, in a management structure and accountability programs, and more importantly, a training program, training schedule. This is exactly, we've got it to the point where I can train 2 people or 200 people at once. We have a specific timeline because hey, if you get 2016, we had the largest hailstorm in U.S. history in San Antonio. Well, what if you're able to train 200 sales guys in 2 weeks? You could absolutely capitalize on the billions of dollars of damage. And of course, you're not going to keep 200 salespeople a year and a half later when the business dies back down to normal, but you don't have to because you can hire and train easily. And you can also scale it. You're like, all right, we're going to open a branch in Houston or DFW, and here's exactly what we need, and here's exactly how we're going to do it. And it's going to run exactly the same as ours. So I'm fired up about it. I'm really excited. It took a long time, a lot of hard work, a lot of tedious work, but we're there, and we're fired up about it.
That's awesome.
So I want to say what our exciting thing is, but I'm not ready to say what it is. And this is being recorded, so I'm not going to say the thing that I want to say. I'll tell you that we are in foundation repair today. Foundation repair today. That's what I'm going to tell you. So I will tell you the secondary thing is when you go through the process that we're going through with EOS, one of the things you do is you develop your 10-year plan. And when we landed on our 10-year plan, what you do is you work backwards. First you cast the vision, then you work backwards, right? In our 10-year plan, we're going to be in 10,000 homes by July 1st of 2030. 10,000 homes, doing the math, that's 2.5 homes per day in all of the operating days that we have in the next 10 years, because we don't work on the weekends. That's for faith and family. And so 10,000 homes in 2030, and working backwards from there, there's several different avenues that we have to get there, and just putting it down on paper and seeing that it's possible based on the math, that right there is exciting. And you talked about the different regions. We've already identified our second market. And so you're talking about $5 million in one job. I'm not talking about that, but I am talking about something that you can actually see in the future and work your way backwards, and it's possible. It's possible. So that's exciting for us that we actually developed that, and I'll announce our bigger plan when it's time.
The second interview.
At the next Hearth Pro Talk. Great. Well, thank you guys again so much. This was fantastic. And thank you everyone for coming out. This has been so great, and appreciate everyone for just listening and sharing such good words of wisdom, and telling us more about the industry. It's fantastic. So thank you everyone for coming out, and feel free to enjoy drinks, chat about Facebook spend. I think it was an exciting topic. And feel free to reach out to myself or anyone in Hearth with any additional questions. We do have a post-event survey with Juliana over there. If you all wouldn't mind just filling it out before you leave, just to give us some feedback. This has been great, but it'll help us work on the next event to make it even better.